but you read a specific book and watched a documentary in 2011 that seemed to change the trajectory of, well, your whole life. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I think context is important, right, for anything we do. And I was not in a particularly good space. I think whether we're actors or cyclists or physicians or professional soldiers, I defined myself by my vocation. That's all I had known since I was, essentially 17 years old. And throughout this kind of series of unfortunate events with the surgeries, I'd been exposed to opioids, and I'd been exposed to pain medication. And before, reading Eat and Run by Scott Jurek and seeing the movie Unbreakable, I was severely injured. I'd become, clinically depressed. I was dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, and a dependency and an addiction to opiates, as well as being, told by, a really highly respected surgeon that I probably was never going to, I wasn't going to run again. So I was definitely looking for something to radically change where I was at. And I've historically been almost a serial optimist. And if anyone who spends time with me knows, I'm generally, a good-spirited person, and that's not where I was, post 2011. So I'm not sure even how the book Eat and Run made its way into my house, but that's written by now one of my friends and legends in the ultra community, Scott Jurek, who won Western States, 7 times. He's won Hard Rock 100 and Badwater. He's a legend, and that's where I was also introduced to plant-based lifestyle, because that was his journey. And then around the same time frame, within maybe a month, this movie by this brilliant woman, J.B. Benna, came out about the Western States 100. I think it was the 2010 or 2011 running of it. And frankly, I didn't know anything about ultra running at this point. Like, running around the woods was part of my job. I didn't know you could actually do it for fun or make a vocation from it. But
now, ultra running for our listeners is anything over a marathon. Is that correct?
Yeah. Anything technically over 26.2 miles, which is a marathon. By and large, it's considered, 50 kilometers or, 31 miles or longer is generally how it's described now.
Great. So I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, no worries.
So I think a marathon is ultra, but nobody asked me. All amazing. Wow.
So you were recovering from your second surgery. You were really, really depressed. You'd been addicted to opioids for several years, since mid-2000, so maybe 5 years.
Yeah, about that time length. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you saw these movies. You saw this movie and you read this book. Tell us how it grabbed you.
Well, first was the book, and that's one of the things that's one of the reasons I feel so privileged to be able to work with Switch for Good is running is in and of itself unimportant to me outside of the context of, did it change my lifestyle for the better? Did it make me a better man? Did it make me a father? And the plant-based component in Eat and Run may have been more important because it was the catalyst for my healing journey. Going dairy-free was the first test that I gave myself after reading that book. And I didn't like where I was at. I didn't like who I'd become, and I needed a radical change. So that book really gave me a blueprint for how to get back to where I wanted to be and how to, grow into who I wanted to be as well. And so I can't, for those folks who don't know who Scott Jurek is, I would encourage you to go look it up. He's now, he's in Boulder, Colorado. He and I are great friends. But I owe him a debt of gratitude for that book, because that started the journey to where I am today. And I don't know that it's hyperbole to say that it probably saved my life.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list, where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.